Hi, I hope you're well. Today I thought I'd just do a little video on 3 mistakes that I used to always make with habits. I think there's a lot of talk about all the stuff that we should do, but I just want to share a few things that I used to do that were really stopping me from actually making progress and sticking to healthy habits. I'm talking about habits like waking up early, sticking to a morning routine, meditation, journaling, healthy eating, exercise, saving money, you name it, literally any healthy habit that I wanted to create, and I wanted them all. The things I talk about in this video was stopping me from creating them. So even though I had all that advice about what to do, I had missed the advice about what not to do. So this is really a what not to do video based on my personal experience. Everyone's different, but these are a few things that I used to do that completely held me back. So the first thing I used to do that really stopped me from sticking to a habit was relying on motivation. Everyone always says we should stay motivated and constantly be looking for inspiration and topping that motivation up. But if you have watched any of my videos before or read my blog, Smart 20s, you will know that I am not a believer now in motivation. But I used to always be looking at Pinterest and Instagram and watching YouTube videos about how to stay motivated. I thought that if I could just figure out how to stay motivated, I'd finally be able to stick to a habit. It really felt like motivation was the missing link. And the problem with relying on motivation was that I would be able to do a habit perfectly for about a week if I was lucky. Sometimes it wasn't even a week, but I could do it while I felt motivated, but motivation would always wear off, and that excitement when I was first getting into a habit would always wane, and then I would just abandon the habit. And I really bought into this belief that we have to stay motivated all the time, and now I don't rely on motivation. I love feeling motivated. And if I feel motivated, I definitely make the most of it. But now I have taught myself how to actually do what I want, stick to a habit without feeling motivated. And it's been so freeing because I can actually do things consistently and stay consistent all the time because I'm not constantly checking in with whether or not I feel like it. I've just learned how to continue doing it anyway. And it's something I teach a lot about in my online course, which is called Dream Habit, a 28-day habit bootcamp for perfectionists. But it's huge. Relying on motivation used to be probably the biggest thing stopping me, and also believing that staying motivated was the key to the habit that I wanted to create when really it was stopping me. The second thing that was really stopping me from sticking to a habit was not feeling like it was worth investing in. So an example of when I have invested in myself and it's had a huge payoff has been with health and fitness. So I've always been a gym person, like since high school, and when I was old enough to be able to go to a gym, I've gone to a gym. I've always had somewhat of a gym habit, but I would always abandon my habits as soon as I slipped up and when I didn't feel motivated. So I hadn't been consistent. I wasn't really unfit. I was probably quite fit by normal standards, but I just felt like I was really struggling and putting in so much work and not seeing any results. So about a year ago, I decided to invest in personal training sessions. And it's something that has always seemed like a luxury to be able to have a personal trainer, and somewhat unnecessary because I felt like anything a personal trainer could do, I could just do myself. And I don't mean that in like a, I'm better than a personal trainer, but it just felt like I could use everything that I had online and all of that sort of thing to figure it out for myself. But anyway, last year I just was like, I'm going to try personal training. I honestly think part of it was because this is going to sound so weird. The Kardashians were getting really into, particularly Khloe, really into fitness, and they had a personal trainer, like one they saw every day. And I was just thinking, like, wouldn't that be so nice to have a personal trainer? And then I was like, why the hell can't I? And it was so interesting as well when I signed up for personal training. My sessions were $80 per hour or something like that. So most people are like, oh, that's, unnecessary. What a waste of money, which I found so interesting, because if I spent that money every week on a dress, put it in my cupboard and literally never wore it, no one would say anything. No one would be like, oh, I can't believe you spent that money on a dress or like stuff. But when we spend that money on something purely to improve ourselves, it really brings up a lot of opinions, and people can really be like, oh, that's just a waste of money. But spending that money just had such a huge impact. Because I was spending money on a personal trainer, I'm not going to waste that money. So I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to eat healthy. And it just made me so much more committed, just purely from spending money and having to like put some skin in the game, which is huge. But also by investing in a personal trainer, I had someone to keep me accountable. And I'm not really into accountability buddies. Because if you and a buddy are both doing, this is just my personal experience, but if you and a buddy are both doing something, then it can, depending on who the people are, but it can be that the two people actually just end up using each other as an excuse not to do the thing. So while they're feeling motivated, they'll go all the time and they'll be like, oh, it's amazing and it's great to do it with a friend and I love doing things with friends. But if you're an accountability buddy and one of them says, oh, let's not go today, like, we deserve a rest, whatever, and can then seek permission from the other person. And if the other person gives it, then both people end up not doing the thing they were trying to stay accountable to. And they feel better about it because they've had someone else validate their excuse. The other thing that can happen is if one person asks permission to skip and tries to convince the other one not to do it, and then the other person says, no, let's actually do it. And it always is the same person asking for permission and then the other person always being the person to say no. Then it becomes a relationship where it's like one person keeping the other one accountable, and there begins to be some resentment, and then the person, like, it ends up being unbalanced, and it's really one person keeping the other one accountable and having to resist extra excuses because their accountability buddy is offering them an excuse not to do things. So I personally am not a huge fan of accountability buddies. I love working out with friends. I love setting goals with friends, but I like to rely on myself and be accountable to myself, which is something I do teach in my online course. Or I also like to have, actually it's probably a mix of both, relying on myself and having someone to keep me accountable. But it's not a two-way accountability thing. Like, I'm not keeping my PT accountable. He's getting money, so he's accountable to helping me achieve my goals. And there really is that focus on keeping me accountable, and I don't have to focus on keeping anyone else accountable and using that energy. And also my PT is never going to give me an excuse not to work out. Like, he's not going to be like, oh, you should rest today, except sometimes because I kind of overdo it. But besides that, I'm never going to be given more opportunities to make excuses, whereas accountability buddies can sometimes be that. But having paid someone to keep me accountable was huge. I have never been fitter or healthier than I am right now, and I've just been able to stay completely consistent, and that has had such a huge impact. I really shifted my mindset from appearance vanity goals, which is what I'd always been doing, and that really did make me all or nothing, because it is easy to feel like, oh, there's no point going to the gym today because it won't change the way I look. Like, there's less of a connection because it feels like just skipping one day won't make a difference. But when I changed my focus to improving my strength and to showing up every day, then I really started staying consistent. So that's a whole other thing. But for me, having that investment that I made in myself made a huge, huge, huge difference. Another example is with blogging. I was from 2013 to 2016 in April, just doing things by myself. There's a lot of free information online, and I was just piecing it together and wasn't doing a horrible job of it, but was holding myself back because I was scared of disapproval and rejection and all of that kind of thing, but that's separate. sort of very related but separate. But in April 2016, I decided to invest in an online course about blogging and how to get your first 1,000 subscribers. In that course, there wasn't even anything necessarily groundbreaking. It was really helpful that everything was mapped out in the order I needed to do it, and I didn't have to keep looking in a million places for advice. But when I enrolled in that course, I made a decision that I was actually going to start stepping up and going all in and really putting in the work, and it changed everything. Deciding to invest in yourself and actually making a commitment really just changes the way that you behave and you approach it. And if you feel like you've got some skin in the game and something to lose, you really do step up and start putting in more effort. And that's just two examples that have literally changed my life in a huge, huge way. But I didn't used to want to invest in myself because I was scared I wouldn't be able to stick to it, and I was scared that it wouldn't work. So one thing too is that if we're scared that something won't work, we can convince ourselves not to invest in it because we can be scared of not getting results and scared of it not being worth it. But I have never invested in anything that hasn't been worth it. But investing in myself when it came to personal development kind of things was huge. The same way we all invest in our education because it's common, but a lot of people don't invest in their personal development or in healthy habits, and these things have an even bigger impact on our life. So when I started investing in myself, everything changed. And the third mistake that I used to make was doing it alone. So I've already had a bit of a rant about accountability, and accountability is huge. Like when I invested in my PT, I had someone that was in it with me instead of me just going to the gym and yes, I can talk about it to Steve and all that kind of thing, but just having someone else who was part of it made a huge, huge difference. When I bought that blogging course, I was then part of a community of bloggers that were trying to achieve the same thing as me. It is so powerful to know that you're not alone, and also because when you're not trying to do it alone, you can see that other people are actually having the same struggles that you are and are going through exactly the same things, and you don't feel so alone. And when you see like everyone from the outside looks like they've got everything figured out and they know what they're doing, but when you have other people to do it with, you can really see that you are both having the same struggles and you're not weird and all of that kind of thing. So finding a community to help you work towards your goals so that you're not alone makes a huge difference and has had a huge, huge, huge impact on my life. Oh, everything I talk about, like I have really changed how I approach habits a few years ago to now. And that's why I created my online course, so that I could teach everything that I know about habits without it taking much time, but putting everything in the right order in one place and creating a community and accountability, and to teach like how I learned how to stop relying on motivation and how I stopped my self-destructive behavior and removed limiting beliefs and stopped triggering my all or nothing mindset, which was huge. And I could never find anything to help me with my all or nothing mindset, and doesn't address that whole mindset thing of like, if you ever abandon habits or you screw up and you feel like you've ruined it, or you wait until Monday, all of that kind of thing. Like I had to figure out on my own how to actually get around that mindset and begin to change it, but also in the meantime stop being triggered by it so that I could stay consistent. Everything I know about habits is condensed into that course in the exact order that I do it. This is a workbook for the course. I will link below my video that has some more information about it, but it really is such an amazing way to actually start creating the life that you want. It's also an opportunity to get personal coaching from me every second week in my live workshops, and to be part of a community that are all working towards the same thing, and to know that you're not alone. and to really actually put some skin in the game and be held accountable and learn how to hold yourself accountable and follow through with all your plans. And you can, I get so excited about this course. I've had students do the course multiple times, so you can only create one habit at a time. But I've had students start the course and do it for waking up early. After a month, they're in the habit of waking up early. Then they've started the next month and added meditation. So then they're waking up early and meditating, and so on and so forth. And it just makes me so happy. The course is for habits like waking up early, morning routine, daily meditation, reading or journaling, healthy eating, exercise, saving money and intentional spending, and also staying organized. So all of those habits are specifically covered in the course with resources to help you and my tips and tricks for each specific habit. And then there's the same method for all of the habits, which only takes a few hours. You'll have this workbook. You get instant access as soon as you enroll in the course, and you can download this and use it as an editable PDF, or you can print it out like I have. And the price is actually increasing on the 31st of July 2017 at midnight. I've made so many amazing new updates. This is one of the updates. I'm so excited. I made so many updates and have really stepped up everything about the course. So I'm increasing the price to $197 at the moment. It's $147. You'll have lifetime access. So that means that if you can't start it right away, you can always log in at any point in the future and start. You can do the course, as I said, multiple times to create multiple habits and really learn the mindset that you need to stop triggering the all or nothing thinking. The one thing that's changed everything for me has been learning how to stop triggering that all or nothing mindset, which is exactly what I teach. I feel like I get so excited. I just get closer and closer to the screen. But yeah, make sure you check it out. The link is going to be below. As I said, the price is $147 and there's a 3-month payment plan option as well. And it's increasing to $197 on the 31st of July 2017 at midnight. So make sure you check it out. And I'll see you in the next video.